The first time Meyer walked into the crumbling, dusty corridors of the orphanage, the weight of despair hit her like a physical blow. Broken windows let in cold winds that whispered secrets of abandoned dreams. She could feel the echo of loneliness in the empty hallways, hear it in the silent sobs of children hiding behind peeling doors. The air smelled of dampness and forgotten hope, a scent that clawed at the heart and refused to let go. Meyer had always believed that the world could be cruel, but standing there, surrounded by children who had never known warmth or comfort, she realized that cruelty sometimes wore the mask of neglect. If you believe in kindness, in second chances, in the power of love to rewrite a life, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Meyer had come to this place with nothing but a small suitcase, a head full of dreams, and a heart that refused to close. She wasn't rich, nor did she have experience in child care or social work, but she carried something far more powerful, an unwavering belief that every child deserved to be seen, heard, and loved. On her first day, she noticed a boy sitting alone in a corner. His clothes were too big, ragged at the edges, and his eyes seemed to have aged far beyond his small frame. He flinched at the sight of Meyer, as if expecting her to leave, like everyone else had. Her chest tightened at the sight. This was the beginning of her mission. She named him Araf. Slowly, cautiously, she started sitting beside him every day, drawing tiny pictures with him, reading stories that smelled faintly of old paper and hope. For weeks, he barely looked at her. He barely spoke, but Meyer didn't give up. She remembered her grandmother's words, love doesn't need to rush, it needs to stay. And stay she did. The challenges were immense. There were nights when the orphanage seemed alive with shadows, with screams muffled behind locked doors, with a gnawing feeling that the world had forgotten these children entirely. Meyer had no magic wand, no instant solution. She struggled with limited resources, with skeptical staff, with her own exhaustion. Some days, she wanted to scream at the injustice of it all. Some nights, she cried herself to sleep, exhausted by the enormity of the problem. But every time she returned, she reminded herself of the children of Arav, of little Mira with her crooked smile, of Sarmi who had never held a toy without fear. She reminded herself that love, even in the smallest doses, could plant seeds of transformation. Meyer's approach was simple, yet revolutionary. She listened first, always. She asked questions without judgment and held space for their fears. She created what she called the Heal Versa program that combined storytelling, art therapy, music, and unconditional emotional support. Children who had known nothing but silence and neglect were encouraged to express themselves through colors, shapes, and words. Slowly, hesitant smiles started to emerge. A laugh here, a whispered "thank you" there, became her fuel. Yet, progress was never linear. Arav would retreat for days, refusing to speak or even eat. Mira's mistrust sometimes turned into anger, lashing out at anyone who tried to get close. Meyer had to learn patience in its rawest form, to endure the silence, to resist frustration. She slept little, ate less, and often carried the emotional burden of every child in the orphanage on her shoulders. Friends and family worried about her, but she could not stop. The thought of these children returning to lives of despair if she failed was unbearable. One evening, a thunderstorm trapped her and the children in the common hall. Lightning illuminated the walls, casting eerie shadows, and the children huddled together, afraid. Meyer began to sing softly, a lullaby her mother had taught her. At first, the children clutched each other tighter, unsure of this warmth. Slowly, one by one, they joined in, small voices blending into a trembling chorus of hope. That night, something shifted. Trust, fragile and tentative, began to root itself. The walls of fear that had taken years to build were cracking. Months turned into years, and the Heal verse began to flourish. The orphanage transformed from a place of cold neglect into a sanctuary of laughter and learning. Children painted murals on the walls, each brushstroke telling a story of resilience. Music filled the corridors, echoing with joy that had once seemed impossible. Arav, once withdrawn and silent, discovered a love for poetry, his words painting vivid worlds on paper. Mira danced in the courtyard, spinning freely without fear. Sarmi, who had been terrified of holding a ball, now played soccer with abandon, his laughter mingling with the wind. But the journey was not without heartbreak. Some children arrived with wounds too deep, memories too painful. There were days when Meyer had to hold a child through uncontrollable sobs, whispering promises that sometimes even she didn't know how to keep. There were nights when she questioned her own strength, her own capacity to heal, and yet she never gave up. Every small victory, every tiny smile, every whispered "I love this" became a reminder that love was not wasted, even if the path was treacherous. Meyer also realized the importance of community. She reached out to volunteers, local artists, musicians, and teachers. Slowly, the orphanage became a hub of collaboration, a place where strangers came to give their time, their skills, and their hearts. Each person who stepped in added another layer of care, another thread in the tapestry of transformation. Meyer's vision was no longer just hers. It belonged to everyone who believed in the power of compassion. There were remarkable milestones that no one had thought possible. Children who once refused to attend school excelled academically. Young artists held exhibitions of their paintings. Musicians performed in local events, their notes carrying stories of resilience and hope. But the true victory lay not in accolades or recognition, but in the quiet moments of reading a story to younger children without fear. Mira comforting a new child who had just arrived, Sami smiling at his reflection without self-doubt. These moments were tiny revolutions, whispers of healing that reverberated far beyond the walls of the orphanage. One particularly poignant day, Meyer received a letter from a boy who had left the orphanage years ago. He had struggled in the outside world, but he wrote to say that the love he had experienced at Healverse had changed him forever. He was now mentoring other children, determined to pass forward the care and hope that had been given to him. Tears blurred Meyer's vision as she realized that her work was no longer confined to the orphanage. It had created ripples spreading far and wide, and yet Meyer never let success make her complacent. She knew that love was not static, it had to be nurtured constantly. New children arrived, each with fresh scars and untold stories. She welcomed them with the same patience, the same gentle insistence that they were worthy of care, that their lives could be transformed. Every day was a battle, every day a triumph, and through it all, the Healverse continued to grow, a living testament to what humanity could achieve when guided by empathy and love. Years later, standing in the courtyard, Meyer watched as children played under the golden afternoon sun. The laughter, the shouting, the carefree energy, it was almost surreal to think of what this place had once been. She saw Arav now, tall and confident, teaching younger children the art of storytelling. She saw Mira dancing gracefully, a symbol of freedom and trust. Sarmi, once timid and afraid, was now the captain of the soccer team, cheering for every teammate, his spirit unbroken. And in that moment, Meyer understood the true meaning of transformation. It wasn't just about giving children shelter or food, it was about restoring their souls, reminding them that they were seen, valued, and capable of greatness. If this story touched your heart, if it made you believe in the power of love and the strength of human spirit, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And before you go, I have a special request: a comment below with the name of someone whose life you've seen transformed through love. It could be a child, a friend, or even yourself. Mayer's journey was not about fame or recognition. It was about creating a space where broken children could become whole again, where laughter could replace tears, and hope could grow in places that had known only despair. The Healverse was more than an orphanage. It was a movement, a promise, a sanctuary built with nothing but love and care. And so, the story continues not just in the walls of the orphanage, but in every heart touched by kindness, in every child who dares to dream, in every soul brave enough to believe that transformation is possible. Because sometimes, all it takes is one person, one act of love, one unwavering commitment to show a child that they matter, to change the trajectory of an entire life. Mayer looked around once more, a quiet smile on her lips, and whispered a promise to the children that she would never stop, that their stories mattered, and that together they would continue to create a world where love always finds a way. White heavy check mark word count approximately 1,800 words. The story is cinematic, emotional, and complete in one part, with 2 calls to action and a special comment request included. If you want, I can also create a version with cinematic narration cues and pauses optimized specifically for YouTube storytelling to make it more immersive and emotionally engaging. That version would have pacing, voice emphasis points, and sound effect suggestions.